Hello, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. We're gonna, couple of minutes, begin our forum tonight, talking about mental health, and we have a particular topic tonight. I put in some information there. You'll see it at the top of the screen, I believe, from your view. So I hope that it's something that, as we continue to speak tonight, you will be able to just write in some of the details. If you have a notebook, if you have a pad, you have something that you're going to be working with, you can write down the words that I put there, and then we can discuss those words. So I'm going to give a couple of minutes for people to log on, um, and so we can definitely begin. I hope everybody's doing well. Just come on in, and we're going to have a good time tonight. Of course, speaking about um, what's going on in terms of our minds, and also how we can help each other out. Remember, what we're doing tonight is really, and what we're doing for the next Wednesday nights in February and March, is focusing on mental health, but specifically on good mental health. Well, we're not just talking about mental illness. Unfortunately, when people talk about mental health, they focus on mental illness. That's not what we're focusing on. We're focusing on mental health in general, but especially the things that you and I can do to make ourselves not only feel better, but live better in a healthy manner, and also so that we can push ourselves to do good things for ourselves and good things for other individuals. So God bless you guys. I see Jay there. God bless you. Ryan, hope you're doing well. And your little one, Eddie, God bless you. I see you there. So just come on in. I'll give a couple of minutes for people to continue to come on in. And I'm also checking my Facebook on my phone as people join in that way. So just keep on coming in, and we will continue just speaking about what's the forum itself, of course, and the things that everyone in general is dealing with as we continue this series. I got some good ideas from you all regarding other things that we can speak about. So I have that in the various chats, and I will be writing some of them down. Some will be able to be included, and some will not be able to be included, perhaps at a future time, because we are time limited. So let me see who else is here. God bless you, Myrna, Patricia, Eileen, Esther. God bless you. So I hope you guys are doing well. Gonna give a couple of, maybe another minute, 30 seconds to a minute. I have a lot of material to cover tonight, but that's fine. Whatever we don't get to tonight, we'll cover it the next time we meet. Now, if since for those of you who are on, let me know if you are able to see what I already posted, the words that I posted. Is that something that you are able to see right at the beginning of the post? So let me know if you are able to do that. Just want to make sure that we are. Okay, thank you, Eliana. Good to see you there. Hope Ricky's around somewhere also. I thank you guys for joining me here tonight. Emily, God bless you. Bilma, God bless you. Hope you are doing well. So praise the Lord. We have a number of people on here, and I'm I'm more accustomed to preaching, so you'll hear me say praise the Lord and God bless you all. I hope no one finds that offensive, but it can be so. I understand that. What we're focusing here on is mental health, but also as it pertains to religious structures at times. So we'll see how we go on regarding that topic. So Jay, you say you don't see it. It's right at the beginning of the post. See if you can take a look at it. Maybe you might have to toggle up and down on the sidebar, and then you'll be able to see it. Oh, that's a good idea. Eileen says to share it. So Patricia, I know you said you see it. Emily sees it. Whoever sees it, maybe you can share it, and then it'll be on another part of the chat also. It's a bunch of words beginning with mental health, ambivalence, and then it goes down into a bunch of other words. Open door ministries at NET, ambivalence, external, internal, couple of Bible verses, and then some other words there. Hey, Jenny, good to see you. Lillian, God bless you, Olga. I don't know if I know you, but God bless you. Just friended you, or you friended me a couple of minutes ago. So God bless you. I pray that you are blessed by what we speak about tonight. So we are going to begin. I want to speak to you today about ambivalence. Now, ambivalence is something that you and I are accustomed to because I shared in an earlier post tonight, two pigeons talking to each other. And thank you, Susanna, for posting that, and God bless you. So you see it in Susanna's post there, all the words that I shared. Hey, Veronica, good to see you. So ambivalence really is talking about uncertainty, doubt, or indecision. So if I were to ask you, have you ever been indecisive in your life? If you're clever, you'll respond, I'm not sure. Yeah, that's a good response. Of course, we've been indecisive. Sometimes we don't know what to do. We pray, we consult somebody, we speak to somebody else, we read books, we might go to the Bible, you might go to a self-help book and see, well, where can I get some assurance as to how I should proceed? What should I do? Where should I move to? Well, what I want to speak to you today, and as we get together here tonight, is all of us talking about how we take care of making decisions. Now, if we're not careful, you can have some ambivalence, right? And be paralyzed by that ambivalence. So I put here in my notes there, ambivalence is a gift of choice that paralyzes some people. So ambivalence, don't take it as something negative. Accept it as something in which you have been given the opportunity to make some kind of choice in your life. Now, choices obviously are dangerous. They can take us to some places where that we don't really want to be. So, of course, we have to be careful of our choices, the things that we choose to do and seek to do, because they're going to take us in a variety of directions, good, bad. Usually none of them are indifferent. We have to be careful about that. Now, the text, I'm going to show you the text that I use for some of the notes tonight. If you want to purchase this text, it's a wonderful book. It's called Motivational Interviewing, and I put it there in the forming, helping people change. And this is just something in my counseling toolbox that if you are interested, something you can get also. It's called Motivational Interviewing by William Miller and Stephen Rolnick, written in 2013. Let me get it as close as I can. See if you guys can see it there. This is the third edition. I'm sure it'll be updated at some time. You want to screenshot that, or you'll have the video so you can see it there. And really, what the book is focusing on is helping people change, but it's not about changing people. And this is our problem. We want to change other people, but we often don't change. This is not where we should be. We should be able to change, of course, good change. And then in the process of us changing, another person might not necessarily change, but they will be affected by our change. Of course, those are the people that are in close proximity to us. So we have to be aware of those situations in which change comes. And of course, change can be good or bad. But when we're seeking change, of course, we're usually seeking good change. So that's something to consider. If you want to purchase the book, of course, I guess Amazon, Barnes and Noble, wherever good books are sold, you can find it there. Got a lot of wonderful information. I'm only using a snippet of it tonight, very small part of it. But again, what is ambivalence? It is the simultaneous presence of conflicting motivations. I know that's a lot, right? The simultaneous presence of conflicting motivations. Now, of course, you can do the video back and forth later on when it's uploaded. I did forget to mention that the video, not only do I leave it here on Facebook, later on in the week or on the weekend, I will post it to Open Door Ministries YouTube channel. So you can see it there. And you can certainly become a subscriber to our channel. During the pandemic, And a little bit before that, we have posted over 300 sermons and Bible teachings and other things on that YouTube channel. So you are more than welcome to become a subscriber there, and you will have this on. So, as I was saying, ambivalence also is speaking about a person expressing pro-change and counter-change arguments. When a person is seeking, they have all the arguments for why should I change and the arguments for why shouldn't I change. Something for us to consider, because let's say you have a decision to make in your life, right? And you're saying, okay, I'm going to do this because this is good for me. This is healthy. My family is going to be helped by this. Or you'll say, I'm not going to do this because I'm afraid. I don't have the money. I'm concerned that later on it's going to affect me in a negative way. So you have the arguments for pro-change and you have the arguments for counter-change. Now, you know that we can often be our own worst enemy. Anybody aware of that? That sometimes we sabotage ourselves. So I know there's some comments there on the video skipping. It might depend on what instrument you're using to see it on. It's better, I believe, on an iPad and on a computer than on a phone. My internet connection is good here, so I don't see the skipping. But I'm sorry if that's happening over there. So again, inside of us, we are able to make certain decisions, but sometimes because we have too many pro and counter arguments, we get stuck in a particular place. So it is up to us to decide what we are going to do, but we have to understand something. You also are not forced to make a decision. Do you know that no decision is a decision? So be aware of that also. We get stuck sometimes on things because we also overthink them. As was mentioned last week, and a good friend of mine, Jeff, he wrote to me recently. We were spoken about it. He mentioned that to me about the paralysis of analysis. We start talking about, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this, and then, oh my God, but what if I do this? And what if I do this? And what if this happens? And what if that happens? And before you know it, we had a whole plan on what we were going to do, and we end up staying stuck in the same place that we were when we started thinking. So we have to, at some point, decide that we're going to do something. And as Jay is telling us here in the chat, yes, omission can be a decision. It absolutely is a decision. At some point, we have to act. Not all the time, but at some point, we do have to act. So that brings us to, if you look on some of the words that I posted, generally speaking, all of us have an internal or an external locus of control. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to break it down a little bit. People who develop an internal locus of control, this is inside of them, believe that they are responsible for their own success. So they'll talk about, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps. I made my own living. I did everything that I could do. I made myself who I am. So that's an internal locus of control. Now, I'm not saying that that's good or bad. We're just talking about what it is. Those with an external locus of control believe that external forces outside of them, determine their outcomes. So let's talk about that for a little bit. An internal locus of control or an external locus of control. Not focus, locus, L-O-C-U-S, like I wrote in the chat there. And all that means is a position. Some people think that they are responsible for everything that has occurred in their lives. Others think that other people or forces or fate or luck is responsible for what is occurring in their lives. And whichever one of those you think, or different areas of those, it's going to lead you in different directions. So let's break that down. If you have an external locus of control, right? These people believe that what happens to them is the result of luck or fate or determined by people in authority. So you'll hear these individuals talk about that person did this to me, or these people are doing those things to me, or the government is doing this to me. They have this focus on all these external things that are doing something to them. So what occurs with these individuals at times? They tend to give up when life doesn't go their way because they feel powerless to change it. And you're right, Eddie, it can be a combination of both at different times. It depends on how you feel at certain times. So again, these people, those that have an external locus of control, they tend to give up when life doesn't go their way because they feel powerless to change it. Their mindset becomes a mindset of powerlessness, and that leads to poor mental health. Because if you feel that people are forever hurting you, coming against you, putting you down, well, that's going to lead you down, or can possibly lead you down the road of anxiety, depression, avoidance, all of these behaviors that don't allow you to mature as an individual. These people also, they have an external locus of control. They, as I said before, they feel powerless. They have no strength. They feel like the world is against them. But to overcome this, this is what we have to do. Pay attention to your self-talk. How do you talk to yourself? I'm going to come back to that a little bit more further down. But how do you talk to yourself? Do you constantly put yourself down? Do you reprimand yourself all the time? Are you constantly saying, I'm sorry, even if you didn't do something wrong? See, that demonstrates a particular mindset. And I'm not trying to browbeat you. I'm just telling you that at times we put ourselves in a position of negativity by the way we speak to ourselves. We put our spirit down. We knock ourselves down. We don't need anybody else to do that. We're well versed in hurting ourselves by the language that we use to refer to ourselves. So some change has to come. I'm going to come to that in a little bit. So again, to overcome having this external locus of control, pay attention to your self-talk. So for example, instead of saying, I have no choice, or there's nothing I can do, remind yourself that you have choices. And as Jay says, yes, it could make us isolate ourselves to avoid external forces. Absolutely. You know how many people right now are hiding in their homes because it is very difficult for them to go outside? They feel like something is going to happen. Yeah, that happens all the time. So that is something that all of us at some point may have to deal with, overcoming this type of pressure. Now, something else that you can do, set manageable goals. You know, some of us have incredible goals. That's fantastic. That is excellent. For example, let's say that you have a goal that you want to make $1 million. That's not an impossible goal. But do you begin with saying, well, I'm going to get $1 million? Or are you talking about, I'm going to get a job first. I'm going to develop the skills of being able to use the stock market. I'm going to be able to slowly build up my portfolio so that I can make it there. That's generally how it's done. Generally, that's how it's done. And Sasha comes up with a good point. She says, I don't think it's so polar. Both external and internal circumstances influence our lives. Okay, that is very true. That is very, very true. However, what I'm talking about is when you have a mindset of one or the other. All of us are going to go through different situations at some point. And absolutely we need a balance. But what my focus right now is talking about those who are stuck in one of those two places, because you can even be stuck on the other one, which I'm going to come to in a second. And Jeff reminds us that Psalm 42 and Psalm 34 are great models of positive self-talk. They bolster the individual in a healthy manner. And Veronica reminds us that we need to speak life to ourselves. Absolutely. So set manageable goals, things that you know that you can do, and focus on how you're making some positive changes in your life by meeting those manageable goals one at a time. Don't go for the super goal. You got to go in steps with the minor goals first. And then what you're going to find, as you continue to fulfill those smaller goals, eventually you make it to the larger goal. So that's an external locus of control, when we feel that everything on the outside of us is building up on us and we have no control. Now, that's not to say that sometimes things do occur, but we have to be cautious. We have to be very cautious about getting into that mindset that everyone's against us. I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say you have young children. Oh, my children don't respect me. My children don't listen to me. My children are having this problem or that problem. Wait a minute. What are you teaching your children? Have you set limits with your children? Have you put boundaries in front of your children, letting them know you're not going to go further than what I'm telling you? See, because we need to understand as adults that very often, the mistakes that we did in our lives, we bring them down to our children as we continue to do the things that our parents did to us. But our parents lived in a different time. We are living in a different time. Our children are being raised in a different time. So we have to be very careful about the data that we input into those little lives that are coming up, because it's going to come back. So we have to make sure that we are fully focused in understanding what we are putting into our children or wherever we're going. Nancy says both extremes are dangerous, the external and the internal. But let's go to the internal locus of control. A person that has an internal locus of control feels that they're in full control. Now, that's a dangerous proposition also. None of us is in full control. None of us. And I mean about all the forces in our lives. See, they feel that they're in full control of the events in their life. They are self-motivated and focused on achieving the goals they have set, which is a good thing. However, their powerful self-belief may mean that they find it difficult to take direction, and what happens? They have to avoid seeming arrogant or walking over other people in pursuit of their objectives. If you have a strong internal locus of control, what happens? You're a go-getter. Nothing can stand in your way. You're gonna make it no matter what. But sometimes that is perceived as being unable to accept instruction and direction, and being a proud person or a narcissist. Now, narcissists to a particular degree. We're all narcissists to some degree. It's all about us in general, generally speaking. We may speak about that at some other time, but usually we are looking out for our own good in general. Nothing wrong with that. Some of us take it to the extreme. I like what Gary wrote there. Boundaries are important. My 15-year-old told me that she is happy that I set boundaries because her fellow classmates are reckless. Children need this more than we know. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the younger they are, you have to be very careful, very, very careful, because those little guys, they're looking at what mommy and daddy are doing, not just at what mommy and daddy are saying. So keep that in mind as you raise your children. Nancy tells us that goals aligned to a plan of action and regular check-ins. Let me see, you jumped over here. Allowing for a change in, and then it got cut off. So I think you have to write a little more there, Nancy. Let me see. Jay says, we can fool ourselves. We think we are a bag of chips and then some, right? What is it, the last Pepsi Cola in the desert? No, we're not. Oh, yeah, but Bill will put that with a Pepsi on the side. So we have to make sure, not that we got it all together. We need to move away from that. We got it all together. We can be a mess, but guess what? You can't be a mess all the time. At some point, you got to clean up. I like to say that you can't keep slipping on the same banana peel. At some point, you got to sweep the floor. That's too much. The complaint cannot always be, for example, my children, my husband, my wife. No. What about me? What am I doing? What's my perspective? Well, let's get back to this internal locus of control here. Having a moderate rather than strong internal locus of control may make you more able to accept situations that you can't influence and to manage them effectively when they arise. This is what we have to understand, that sometimes, yes, we are going to have an external locus of control to some degree in some things. None of us can control the weather. That we can't do that. We can't do that. So some things are going to affect us. They're going to come from outside of us and they're going to hurt us. The accidents, other situations. An internal locus of control where we feel that we have some control over things that we should have, but we should have that at a moderate level. What does that mean? That you can decide if you're going to be late to your job every day or not. That's up to you. You can decide that. That is having some power over your circumstances. So let's say that you're late to work every day and your boss calls you on that. And then you say, wow, everybody's against me. Really? It was your decision to make a bad decision and then get caught in that bad decision, right? Consequences. So where did it begin? It actually began with you. So this is where we need to understand that we have a lot of control over our lives. We don't have every single thing under control, but we have a lot of control over our lives. You know, those studies that you've been wanting to do, what are you waiting for? That degree that you've been planning on getting, what are you waiting for? The job that you want to change, or what are you waiting for? Right? You're getting older. I'm getting older. At some point, you have to say, I'm not going for it anymore. I'm doing it. And then, you know what? We're going to come to this in a second. You put it in God's hands and you move forward. As Nancy tells us, balance is critical, and that is so important. And life has a good way of balancing us, because the hard knocks of life, sometimes they knock us down and make us look up and say, oh, what did I do? And then we get a little bit more balance there. Jay says that I had a family member that had this happen to her. She had about 10 different jobs in about 10 years, and it was always someone else's job. Okay. Thank you for that. See, so what is that? We need to know, right? If you studied, you're going for a job that you want. You're doing something that you feel comfortable in, but it is up to you to make some of those choices. As Henry tells us, know your limits. That's so important. You got to know your limits and boundaries. Now, that's not to say that you don't seek to exceed those boundaries. Like I have told you, I think I said this last week, I'm taking this class in statistics. It's driving me crazy, but I'm not going to buckle under it. I'm going to take it. I'm going to get whatever grade I get, but I'm going to try to learn the concepts that are there, because I know that that is stretching me. It's an uncomfortable way of feeling, because I like to know what I'm doing, but it doesn't matter. I am understanding that I don't fully understand, and that is helpful to me. Eliana tells us there's freedom in taking responsibility for our choices and behaviors rather than be at the whim of our circumstances. That's excellent. We at some point have to stop saying, this person made me do it, that other person made me do it, the devil made me do it. The devil can't make you do anything because you don't belong to his kingdom. So no Christian should ever say that. You belong to the kingdom of Christ if you are a Bible-believing Christian. So that kind of talk is not in our vocabulary. But we need to understand that when we are seeking to have some measure of control over our life, there's going to be pushback. And so what do? Well, I put two Bible verses in the chat there. One is Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 1, and the next one is Galatians 6:7. And I cannot believe it's already 7:31. Time just flies. Ecclesiastes 11:1. Why did I put that verse there? We're talking about external and internal locuses of control. Basically, we're talking about why do we do the things that we do, right? And about ambivalence, uncertainty, doubt, and indecision, right? The simultaneous presence of conflicting motivations, like I said before. Ecclesiastes 11:1 tells us this. This was written by an Israelite king, maybe, wow, over 3,000 years ago. And this is what he said. Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. What's he talking about here? He's talking about being able to make some decisions about what you are going to do with the resources that have been allocated to you. And that is good mental health. When you are able to say, okay, I have this much, and this is what I can do with that. And then it increases by a lot or by a little. But look what he says. What's he talking about? Cast. First of all, you take that word by itself. Throw or put away from you your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. He's talking about making some decision in which you release something outside of you, an investment. Now, this could be an investment of time. This could be an investment of money. This could be an investment in your family. This could be an investment in your church, whatever. It is an investment that you are throwing out there and expecting that at some point it's going to return to you having increased. Now, I'm going to give it to you in the Amplified version. It says, cast your bread on the surface of the waters. In other words, be diligently active. Make thoughtful decisions, for you will find that same bread after many days. You know what that means? All that is the law of attraction. The things that you do, the things that you speak, eventually are going to come back to you. This is not magical thinking. This is not witchcraft. This is none of those things. This simply is what is mentioned to us in the New Testament in Galatians chapter 6, verse 7. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. It's the exact same concept. What does that mean? Whatever you put out there eventually comes back to you. So what should you put out there? A good attitude, an honorable person, a person of integrity, a person that does the right thing even when the wrong thing is being done to them. Eventually, I don't know how long is eventually. I don't know how long eventually is. Those things come back to you. And that is also good mental health. Now, the Amplified version of Galatians 6:7 says this. Do not be deceived and deluded and misled. God will not allow himself to be sneered at, scorned, disdained, or mocked by mere pretensions or professions, or by his precepts being set aside. He inevitably deludes himself who attempts to delude God. For whatever a man sows, that and only that is what he will reap. What's that mean? Yes, Mitch, it sounds just like karma. But we got the karma from the Bible, not the karma from what some other people are talking about. That's the law of attraction. That what you give, you're eventually going to get. Why did Jesus say, give and give and give, and it's going to be returned to you? Now, this is not the health and wealth gospel. Move away from that nonsense. Because they're taking somebody else's money. They're not using their own money. This is talking about when God gives you resources. Now remember, God is the source. He gives you resources. He gives you resources. You invest those resources in whatever way you deem best with knowledge and intelligence. And then God in turn blesses what you invested, and you get back more, and you in turn continue to invest that. And on and on and on and on and on. There is an increase in your house. But why? Because you're not deceiving yourself. You're putting things out there that eventually are going to come back to you having grown in a special and powerful way. So that's really, really, really important. We have to keep that in mind. I would love that someone would share. Now, of course, I don't want people to speak about their personal things. That this is not about that. But have you ever noticed you giving and giving and giving and yet having? Where have you invested where you have found that you are getting something back? Now, don't put your money out there. You can send me some money, that's fine. But don't put your money out there, your banking information out there. I'm talking about where you have gone above and beyond in giving, and you have seen the blessing of God. Please share. Now, this discussion points to the fact that there is good mental health. There is good mental health in being able to be grateful and to give. This is something that I learned many years ago. Do you know that some of, not all of course, but some of the most successful people give away a large portion of their money, a very large portion of their money. And you know what? They don't get any poorer by doing that. They actually don't just get richer in money, but they get richer in attitude and in blessings and in being able to take care of the needs of another individual. And then that individual in turn is able to care for somebody else. So that investment continues to grow. Okay, thank you, Jenny. She says the time I spent caring for my mom. So that was an investment in her life. Susanna tells us this is truly a blessing to give than to receive. Yes, it is. Well, Jenny continued, blessed spending that time with her and God. That's beautiful. So she was able to give to someone that probably couldn't give back to her, but yet she was blessed by being able to do that. So Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 1 and Galatians 6:7 are talking about the fact that when we are able to divest ourselves, right, give something away, you lose nothing. You absolutely lose nothing. You actually gain things. See, Nancy tells us giving to the kingdom of God, giving to widows, children, and the poor and less fortunate. Absolutely. That is part of the giving. And then there's that other part of the giving where you give counsel. Yes, thank you, Eileen. Helping and ministering to others. I can frankly say that with some of the students that I counsel and other individuals that I have had counseling sessions with, I have gained from working with some of those individuals. I have been blessed by their words, and I have been blessed by their insight. So that's important. So that's really important. And that's something that we have to continue to do, to be able to divest ourselves of something, give it forward, and then watch God work. But you know what? We can't be chintzy. We can't be cheap about that. And I'm not just talking about money. If you're going to give, you know what? You give your all. And then just let God do what he's going to do. And he does it so well. Jay tells us, during my first years at Renotex, they were tough, but I would still help with whatever I had. God then blessed me by having a large sum of my business note forgiven without me asking for it. It was a true act of grace. That's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. The Lord knows how to do that. So some of you are writing, but just pieces of what you're writing is coming out. So I don't know if you have to write slower. You could take your time. Yes. Carmen tells us, when I give, it gets multiplied. I don't know how. Glory be to God. Because that's God's multiplication. We don't know. It's difficult for us to fathom God's multiplication because we can't understand it. Remember, like in the very beginning, Genesis chapter 1, how did God create? Ex nihilo, EXNIHILO, out of nothing. God can multiply nothing and make something for you. Eddie says, working at the senior center, even though I was getting paid, I got more return from the love from all the seniors that I met there. That's fantastic. And I certainly believe that. That's how I feel about my students. That some of them, just in their laugh and in their smiles, I'm blessed in watching them. So we're going to transition to another section here. If you look at the notes that I posted up there, and we're going to speak for a little while on what's called motivational interviewing. Again, this is in the book that we mentioned, that I mentioned earlier. And it's talking about our language to ourselves. And that's a good point. Darby, God's math is not our math, that's for sure. Gary says, giving of my time is the best investment that I've realized. Spending time with people who are in need and just listening to them is important. Yes, some people just want to be heard. And you know what our problem is? Too many counselors that I know, they do more talking than listening. Too many ministers that I know, they do more talking than listening. If you are a counselor and you're the one doing all the talking, unless you're teaching something, you got to change that. People want to be heard. That's really, really important. Susanna says, God has always provided for our needs, and we are to give it back to those less fortunate. Absolutely. And Myrna says, teaching students the word and seeing them become pastors, leaders, and teachers has blessed me. Absolutely. It's good to watch people grow up in the Lord, to watch people mature, to mentor other individuals. So, our self-talk. There's a psycholinguist. Now, that I didn't know it was a thing, but a psycholinguist. This is an individual that studies how we use words. Very, very interesting stuff. Very, very interesting stuff. And he helped Miller and Rolnick when they were writing the latest edition of Motivational Interviewing and spoke to them about how they could better integrate some of the words that they were using. But he said this. You and I we began talking about ambivalence, internal or an external locus of control. Basically, it is the fact that we want some kind of change in our life. Now, listen to this. Usually, we want change, but we're not willing to change. Now, I want you to listen to this. For example, this is the most common thing. Okay, I want to lose weight, let's say, or I want to bulk up, I want to get more muscular. Fantastic. You know what to do, right? You got to change your diet. You got to lower the carbs, get rid of the sugar, drink more water, do exercise. We know what to do. We don't do what we know that we should do. Now, is that not true? Now, I know ain't nobody going to be writing about that now here, right? Let's see who's brave and put that there. Okay, so Darby's still on the other one. So true. Be slow to speak and quick to listen. Bite your lip. Amen. Bite your tongue sometimes so you can't, until it bleeds and you can't talk. But what we need to understand is sometimes you and I know exactly what we should do. Jay says that is me. We know exactly what we should do. And we talk about doing it. And this is what I have come across. I have come across this, that the fact that we know that we should do it and we talk about doing it in some of our minds means that we did it. And that's incorrect. We didn't do it. We thought about doing it. Vilma says, me too. Every Monday I start. I get it. I get it. It's a struggle. It's real. It's real. But how can we change that? Well, again, the psycholinguist Paul Amheim, he says that there has to be a preparatory change talk. How you talk to yourself. And he came up with this acronym, or he and the authors came up with this acronym, the acronym DARN, D-A-R-N, D-A-R-N, and I believe I put that in the words there. Yes, I just wrote out the acronym: desire, ability, reasons, and need. I wrote out the whole acronym for you. It's in the when I first posted. What does it mean? Well, this is how we talk to ourselves, or maybe how we need to begin to talk to ourselves. So first of all, we begin with desire. I want, I would like, I wish, I hope. So there's a desire. There's a desire in your heart. There's something that you want to do. So you use those words. I want, I would like, I wish, I hope. But then you have to consider your ability. And what's ability? Well, your perceived or your self-perception of being able to complete something. And then that self-talk comes out through I can, or I am able to. Oh, I can do this. I can. But then there have to be some reasons for that change. What are the specific reasons for the change you want? So then what you need to do then is use if-then statements. If I do this, then this will happen. For example, if I work out more often, I might have less pain in walking up the stairs. Something like that. If I drink more water, maybe I won't be so affected by a lot of sugar. Something like that. If then we have to make those connections. If I do this, then this will follow. Those are the reasons. Remember in the darn, desirability reasons, and then need. I need to, or I have to. There's an urgency of change. This is what I think about. I'm about to hit, in a couple of months, I'm about to hit 55. Okay? Old for some, young for others. Fine. That's me. I'm about to hit that age. I made a commitment to myself that by the time I retire, I will be healthier than I was before I retired. So I'm working towards that. Now, what does that mean? Okay, this is me personally. I'm in pain a lot of the time. I don't know if I've injured my muscles, my bones. I work out. I've worked out for many years, and I want to maintain the ability to carry myself, to be able to walk, and to be able to run. Not to have somebody care for me when I'm in my 70s or in my 80s. Now, can something happen to me that I can't control? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I can take some control of my bodily functions by caring for myself. So what do I have there? I have a want. I want to be physically well when I get older. I have the ability. I can work out. I have reasons. I don't want somebody else to have to care for me. I have a need. There's an urgency of change in me because I want to be able to maintain a standard of health when I'm older. That's DARN, D-A-R-N, desire, ability, reasons, and need. Eddie tells us, a friend of mine told me to stop talking negative about myself and think positive, and I would achieve what I want to achieve at that point in my life. Okay, yeah, well, most of that is correct. You got to take the action steps. Definitely stop talking negative about yourself, but then move forward in the things that you want to do. Eliana says, converting demands on the self into preferences. Absolutely. Being more of a flexible thinker rather than being a rigid thinker. That's important. And thank you, Jay, because you put the acronym out there. And that brings us to a final section for tonight. You believe it's 7:49 here. Time just flies. I mean, I don't know if you're having fun, but time still flies, whether you're having fun or not. We need a motivation for change. We spoke about ambivalence, right? Uncertainty, doubt, indecision. That's not a bad thing, because when you're ambivalent about something, it means that you are thinking about changing. That brought us to having either an internal or an external locus of control, and we agree that we're somewhere in the middle of those things. Although it's usually better to have an internal locus of control in the sense that you have some control over yourself, and you certainly do have some control over yourself. Then that took us to the Bible verses, Ecclesiastes 11:1 and Galatians 6:7, where we're speaking about the law of attraction. Mitch put there karma, but of course, this is not karma as the way you think about in a worldly sense, because that really leads us to nowhere. If you study some of the religions that practice that, they sometimes can't fully explain what they mean by that. But what we do understand is that there is a law of attraction. You are going to attract what you put out into the universe. Now, we know that is through the power of God. But what we do need to understand that there are other people who are not believers, who are not Christians, and they do this. They put out there. They invest, they help other individuals, and they in turn are also helped. That's really important for us to think about. Getting rid of some things that we can give to others, but in a good way, and not expecting anything in return, just the blessing of giving. And we still get stuff in return. So then that brought us to some tenets of motivational interviewing, the acronym DESIRE, D-A-R-N, desirability, reasons, and need. And finally, we come to at least 4 more things that we need to do in the concept of motivation, how we motivate ourselves to do certain things. and we'll end with this, and you can certainly keep on with your commentaries, and we'll have more at the end. Number one, there has to be a partnership between you. Now, because we're talking about our own mental health, the partnership is between you and you, or between you and God, or between you, if you want to say between you and the Holy Spirit, between you and the Bible, between you and what it is that you believe in. There has to be some kind of partnership. Why? Because you're working for and with someone else. There's an active collaboration. You know the old saying, no man is an island? That is very, very true. No matter, you can believe that you're not affecting somebody. Somehow, some way, you are affecting people around you, either by your presence or by your absence. We are affecting other individuals. So the first thing you want to do is you have to develop a partnership. Now, you also have to be careful with partnerships because they don't always go well. So you have to be mindful of the individuals that you want around you. Some people are going to pull you up. Some people are going to push you down. You have to decide those that you're going to hang with. So partnership is number one. Then acceptance. And acceptance means that you understand, right? You understand and make a part of yourself what you bring and where you're at. In other words, you accept yourself as you are, understanding that there can be increases in who you are and decreases in who you are, depending on the need. Jay gives us a good point. Finding the right partner is the rub. Sometimes we are not a good partner with ourselves. That's absolutely true. Sometimes we hurt ourselves. That's a possibility, right? That is a possibility. But then that also means that sometimes we have to decide that we're no longer going to hurt ourselves. And that means sometimes pushing some boundaries in self-care also. So partnership was first, and then acceptance. Understand and accept what you bring and where you're at. In other words, know your value, but don't value yourself so high that nobody can hang with you, and don't value yourself so low that you're in the gutter. Right? Nancy told us earlier, you got to be balanced. Got to be some balance in your life. 4 things regarding acceptance. Carl Rogers mentions that we should have unconditional positive regard. Now, I'm talking about bringing it to yourself. Value yourself because God says that you're valuable. You have personal worth simply because the creator of the universe decided that on top of everything else that was created, one of you was also necessary. Hey, that's a big deal. So I'll give you an example of sometimes how I come before the Lord, because things affect my life. Things happen in my life. I read the scriptures, right? Get into the Bible, and I'll come before God and I'll say, hey, God. Well, I don't say, hey, God, but I pray and I'll say, for example, you answered Moses' prayer. You answered David's prayer. You answered Joshua's prayer. I'm not greater than Moses. I'm not greater than Joshua. I'm not greater than David. But I'm no less than Moses. I'm no less than Joshua. And I'm no less than David. I am your servant. Hear me and respond. That is my acceptance of who I am before God, with all respect to him and other servants in the scripture, but understanding that if God says that I can boldly go before his throne, then I should go in boldly and ask. So, absolute worth. You have inherent value. You have personal worth. Accurate empathy. Some of us are sympathetic for someone else's plight. We pity them, but we don't have empathy for them. Empathy is different. And some of us have what's called identification. We'll say, I understand. No, you don't. It's very difficult you could go through exactly the same exactly the same thing that someone else is going through, and have totally different feelings about that. Totally different feelings. So you have to understand that. Accurate empathy means that you are aware of your inner personal meaning. What does that mean? that you have an understanding of who you are and your basic needs. And if you don't have that understanding, that you are seeking that understanding, or seeking that understanding for some other individual. So you're not telling somebody, oh, I feel bad for you. Oh, ay bendito. You know, I hate ay bendito. Please never tell me ay bendito. We're gonna have a problem. So ay bendito for me basically means you're on your own. So I can't stand those words. But that's fine. That's just me. It's not sympathy. It's not pity for the other individual. But again, it's also not identification. It's not saying, oh, I know what you're going through. No, you don't know what I'm going through because you're not me. You are you. But it is beginning to understand the interpersonal meaning of the other individual, of yourself. And then there has to be what's called autonomy support, the right and the capacity of self-direction. In other words, there's no blaming and no shaming into action. You should do this because blank, 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 blank. No, 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 no. We have to be very careful about that. This is something that is often done in some churches, where you'll blame or shame somebody into action. That's not what we do. We act because we are grateful for what God has done, and we respond. But there are many individuals who are not in church and are doing good deeds. So what does that mean? All this is talking about is the ability to understand that people have the right and the capacity to make choices. And it is not for you to make choices for another individual unless it's a child that cannot make a choice for themselves. Other individuals can choose to be what they want to be. We don't have to understand that. We don't even have to like that. But what we need to know is God has given us the right to make choices. God does not remove that from us. Now, we are going to suffer the consequences of our choices, but God still allows us to make choices. So that's autonomy support. We're still under the label of acceptance. And finally, under that same label, affirmation. Acknowledge your strengths and your efforts, that you are capable of doing certain things. That's so important. So we started with partnership. We went to acceptance. Now we're going to go into compassion. Actively promote your welfare. Seek your well-being. You know what? You guys know this story. When you get on an airplane, they tell you that if you're with a child, put your mask on first if something happens. Why? Because if you're taken care of, you can take care of the other individual. If you're not taken care of, you lose and the person with you loses. And that's really, really important. That's really, really important. Actively promote your own welfare, seek your well-being, and those of others. And finally, evocation. 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 Avoid the deficit model. Oh, I'm missing this and I'm missing this and I'm missing this. Oh, if I had that person with me, or if that individual who left, or if this hadn't happened to me. Move away from that model of weakness and of not having something. Instead, focus on what you already have and call it forth. That's an evocation model. What does that mean? It's a strengths perspective. What is it that you have that you can give either someone else or that you can strengthen yourself with? There are some skills and abilities that you have that I don't have. But when we get together, I have your skills and you have my skills. And then what happens? We are able together to be productive. But we come from a deficit model, and we do that very often in counseling, that deficit model. Tell me what your problem is. Oh, right there. Now I'm your problem because I'm coming from a negative perspective. What if instead we said, tell me what you want me to do? Remember Jesus? He's healing somebody. What does he say? What do you want? Do you want to be healed? What kind of question is that? We would say, obviously so. No, 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 no. Because some of us are not quite sure what we want. And we need to begin to develop that perspective of, even though I'm carrying whatever burden I'm carrying, I still have some strength to do blank, 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 blank. You fill in the blank, whatever it is. Okay, so it is 8:01. I want to hear for a little bit from you guys. Yes, solution focused. Absolutely. But even solution focused is looking at a problem. So we still have to be careful of that. I prefer strength focused. What strengths does the individual have that they may not be displaying at the moment? So what do you guys think? We're talking about mental health here and how you and I can bolster ourselves by an acceptance of where we are, but not staying stuck in that particular place. When and where and how have you pulled yourself out of a negative situation and made some decisions that perhaps changed your outlook? Put that in the chat there. Oh, thank you, Esther. She's taking it all in. This is great. Enjoy. I'll give you an example from my life. When I was going to do my master's in social work. So here, I'll tell you a secret. When I was in college, I was not a good student. Nobody in my family went to college. I didn't know what college was about. So you know what where I spent most of my time? I spent most of my time in the gym. Fordham University, Rose Hill campus, gorgeous campus. And there I am in the gym. Okay? I passed all my classes. I didn't get great grades, but I passed. I got my degree, Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Fantastic. Then I'm going to go a few years later for my master's in social work. And now it got a little more difficult. They looked at my grades and they said, don't know if you're going to be able to do the work. And I said, you know what? Give me an opportunity to prove that I can do it. And I'll never forget, they accepted me. And I got fantastic grades. I went to the Wurzweiler School of Social Work, Yeshiva University. I got my my master's in social work there. A few years later, I passed my licensing exam in social work, and I got my R number, which means I have a psychotherapy privilege. I was blessed. But what did I have to do? I had to determine that I was able to do some things that somebody was telling me that perhaps I was not able to do. Now, of course, I did that under the strength of God, but I did the studying. I took the exams. I wrote the papers. God opened my understanding, but I had to do the work. And this is where we miss it. Sometimes good mental health comes from you and I stepping out of our comfort zones and pushing ourselves forward, even when people are saying we're not going to be able to make it. What does that mean? Take care of everything that you got to take care of. Take care of your marriage, take care of your children, take care of your job, and then branch out a little further. Just a little further. Just a little further. After I got my master's in social work, I said, I need more. I got my master's in divinity. And after I got my master's in divinity, I said, I need a little bit more, and I'm doing my doctorate. I'm more than halfway done. Maybe one more year, and God willing, I'll have that in my hands. I'm not saying it to brag. This is a poor kid from the South Bronx, Mitchell Projects. I'm not ashamed of that. What I'm saying is, when you partner with God, you're going to go places. But when you decide that you can't do it, you're right. You can't do it. So choose that internal or that external locus of control. Which one are you going to put into operation? That's up to you to decide. Okay, so last questions or comments, and we will end for tonight. We spoke about mental health as it is presented to us through ambivalence, making choices, internal and external locus of control, Ecclesiastes 11:1, Galatians 6:7, motivational interviewing, the acronym DARN, desire, ability, reasons, and need, and you deciding to partner, accept yourself, have some compassion, and evoke, call out what God has placed in you to take you beyond yourself. Okay, I'm going to read some of the comments here. Darby says, acknowledging that through difficult times, I am in a partnership with the Lord. So when difficult times come, especially in ministry direction, rely on my partner, the Lord. Excellent. Jessica Giordano, she's putting it out there. OMG, I needed to hear this right now. That failure mentality is my comfort zone. I got used to being sick. I got so used to being sick that I'm not used to being well. Well, thank you for saying that. I hope this is part of you helping you get well. Good. Jay says, I'm currently outside my comfort zone now. I shut down the external locus of control. Jenny says, I can do it. Olga says, amen. Praise the Lord. We press forward with the help of God in Jesus' name. Absolutely. Barry says, this is a great forum. It's important for us to do the work. When we partner with God, he takes the limits off of us that we put on ourselves. Absolutely. I have to say there are no limits with God. Darby says, do not let your illness define you. You are more than your illness. Absolutely. Eddie says, thank you. And Gary says, great teaching, Pastor Lewis, very similar to what I'm studying in school. Thank you for this blessing. Absolutely. So I'll give you a couple of seconds for more comments, and we will call it night. Next week, same time, same channel. We'll be here again with a different topic. So I hope that you were blessed with this. Please share, give it to other people. Use it as you please. This is freely out there. My good friend Therea says, great forum. Mental illness is important to discuss and not shy away from. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why we're not focusing on mental illness. We're focusing on mental health, the things that are going to move us away from that illness mentality. Yeah, I could have something that's dragging me down, but that's not what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to change that, the way I think. Jenny says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Absolutely. And I'm going to add something to that. You can do all things that God tells you to do through Christ who strengthens you. So make sure you stay in that place where it is God who is strengthening you. Amen. So God bless you all. We will be on next week. A little bit later on, I will put this up either tomorrow or on the weekend on YouTube, Open Door Ministries YouTube channel. You're more than welcome to join us, subscribe to the channel. There's a few hundred sermons that I have preached there and other teachings, and I would love to have you on. So God bless you all, and I will see you next week.